In 2019, advertising is just basically unavoidable. It's digital, it's out there in the real world. Everywhere you look, you'll see some type of an ad directed at you, something of a marketing piece being shown to you to get you to act on anything, whether it's, go to a place, buy a product, hire a service provider, anything that, we encounter in our daily world, somehow, some way, usually, touches on marketing and advertising. That means that everything that you encounter has some sort of marketing thought put into it for you to be able to see it at a specific place, specific time, for any specific reason. And that involves a little bit more than just kind of a blind, stabbing in the dark, trying to find the customer, trying to be just random with it. You know what I mean? Not necessarily have any plan. And that way of marketing just doesn't work, right? So in today's world where there's so much marketing, there's so much advertising, there's so many people trying to do the same thing, what you probably heard out there in the world is labeled as a attention arbitrage, which basically is a fight for somebody's attention. This day and age, Facebook and every other platform, even TV for a long time, and just about anybody that was in either sales, marketing, or advertising knew one thing. And they knew that if they mastered the way to get attention, people would kind of bend to their will. And as long as these, service providers or, merchants, however you want to look at them, as long as they could keep people's attention, they basically were the opinion makers and the people that would mold you and get you thinking a certain way. And it transcends really just regular marketing. I mean, this goes into religion, politics. Everything has a message, and that message really is, kind of paired with a call to action, which is, asking somebody to do something, whether it's press a button and so on and so forth. And advertising really is just designed to, sway opinions, get people to act, buy things, be able to sell things. If you could master it, it's sort of like this power that you hold over other people, because big thing that marketing is kind of supported by is selling, right? So if you know how to market, you know how to sell. If you know how to advertise, you'll really be able to move your units at the most efficient rate without having to do too much, having to spend too much. So it's super important to understand a few things. Super important to understand who your audience is. It's super important to understand what your product really does as far as its features, advantages, and benefits. Um, that's called the fab. You'll probably hear me mention that a few times. That comes from the car industry. A lot of times that they told you when you're selling a car, the best way to do it is to show the customer the features, advantages, and then the benefits. So knowing all that and understanding all that, again, makes somebody like me who's dealing with the digital side of the advertising and the marketing very effective to be able to convert people from viewer to actual customer. And that's a really important term in this industry, is conversions. You're able to convert people from viewers, where they just kind of, walking by, to actual buyers. All right. Now, there's a few things that is, kind of really important to understand in the advertising world, right? It's important to understand what we refer to as the value ladder. The value ladder itself is basically a concept that is built on value and price. Now, the higher the price go, the more the value. Lower the price, obviously, lower the value. So, to kind of give you an idea what a value ladder would be for you guys, for let's say music producers, it'd be something like giving away a free kit, giving away a free beat, which I'm not a fan of. But, you're basically giving something away to the existing source of traffic that is passing you by, and you're drawing them in. This is also referred to as bait. Now, bait is, again, something you give away for free that somebody doesn't have to really make a big decision for, and they could just take it and run with it. So, they feel like they got something from it. They feel like they got something out of it. They didn't have to pay anything. It's not really a loss to them either way if they like it or not. But this is where understanding where your customer is, and who your customer is rather, will help you understand, what these customers want before they become your customers, right? So when they're still just passing by, and again, I always use the same metaphors, and the metaphor I always use is, as a customer in New York City, right? You're walking around, you're passing a million stores in Times Square, and you're just kind of, doing your own thing. How do those stores get you inside and at the same time get you to not only trust them, but also like them and make the decision all at the same time? Now, a lot of that stuff is done kind of subconsciously in our minds where we don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time getting to know the store owner if we need to buy something from them, right? So, again, on the value ladder, the lower you are to the first step, right, the cheaper the experience is, I guess, in a way. So you're not paying a lot for it, you're not getting too much out of it, but it's still value, full enough for you to actually feel like you're getting something. So you're not wasting your time. You're getting something for your time. And I always say that time is the most precious resource. So don't waste people's time. And never really ends well. It doesn't necessarily make people happy either. So you're going to lose the customer and you're also going to get a bad rep. And that's kind of, counterproductive. So make sure that you understand that when you're giving somebody bait, when you're giving somebody a free product, so for producers, it would be like a beat or a free drum kit or whatever, right? MIDI loop pack. You give it away. You give it away because you want somebody to, become aware of you, right? So you're drawing them in. They're passing you by. And the one thing I always say, too, is let's not invent our own sources of traffic. There's traffic that's established. Find where it is. Place yourself alongside of it. Offer that traffic bait, right? Like what we were talking about, whether it's free beats, free loop kits, whatever. But it has to be relevant to that crowd. So when you're selling and, you're using the value ladder to kind of get people interested in you and so on and so forth, you have to understand who your customer is. You have to understand that when you're giving that customer an offer, that offer is relevant, but that doesn't necessarily always mean they have to pay you for it. It could just be share an email address. They could just give you some kind of, piece of information that you require to be able to continue, further. So, you may want to get somebody into the Facebook pixel, and I'll get into what that is later, but you may want to basically track that person using Facebook and be able to show your ad to that person regardless of where they are, whether it's a third party, a website, or it's the Facebook platform or whatever. You want to be able to show that person your ad because that person has been to your website and so on and so forth. So you want to give people some kind of an incentive for them to be able to actually, commit to your call to action and actually do it so you could get whatever you're trying to get out of it, right? Because we as marketers, we spend money every time somebody sees our ad. If that ad is placed wrong and it's not really placed correctly, or it's targeting the wrong people, or a million other things could go wrong with it, you're going to basically throw your money away. You're not going to get the conversion. You're not going to get the sale. You're not going to get the customer. So first of all, we must understand exactly what it is that we're trying to do, who we're trying to sell to, and then the all the other things like why and, is it the right timing and is it the right offer for them? So there's so many things that you really need to understand the basics and really have the grasp of it to really kind of build off of, and that's kind of where this class is. It's, it's going to teach you all the basics as far as, the value ladder. Again, you're going to go up in value, it's going to cost more. Customer will understand it, and you have to be reasonable and you have to walk them logically, But also, I like to think of advertising as fishing, right? I mean, that's really what we're doing here. We're fishing for customers, right? So we're basically using our ads as fishing rods, and that's what I think about them as. I think of my ads as fishing rods. I think of being on a boat where you could put a bunch of fishing rods on the same, on the same boat and have them all fish at the same time. Some may lose, some may win. The way it usually works is that the winners pay for the losers, and it all ends up working out regardless of how much loss you may have taken, because it should cost you a lot less to be able to place these ads, than what you're actually making off of them. And if you know how to do it, I mean, you could get, like, I get 20 times, sometimes 50 times return on my ads. We have ad campaigns that are running that are, making $40, $50, $60,000 off like a $5,000-$6,000 investment. That's crazy. And then there's campaigns that are doing, smaller numbers, but the return on investment, the actual, times is like 30, 40 times. But, again, everything has its limits, and you need to understand that. And usually what I say is, don't ever look at somebody else's ads and feel like, oh, well, if they got it, I could get it. Because it's, you get so many different factors that play your own game, understand your own environment. Don't try to compete. Don't try to just take somebody else's, tips and tricks that don't really necessarily fit into an entire plan. Like this course, I'm giving you the entire map. I'm not just giving you some hot little tip that you'll be able to implement somehow and that's a shortcut. That's not how this works. And I don't want to, I don't want to put that kind of idea in your head that there's going to be some magic silver bullet, because there's not. What I preach is education and understanding of, your environment and how to really work within it. What to do if you're faced with certain situations and you have certain troubleshooting things that you need to kind of take. You want to understand, again, the core basics, because that's where the true knowledge of it lives, and then build a nice strong foundation to build off of. You know what I mean? And understanding concepts like the value ladder is super important. I didn't invent the concept. It's not mine. There's a million people online who talk about it. The whole point of it is just to really educate you guys that for value, as you offer value to people, that the price goes up as the value climbs. So again, make sure that when you're trying to get people into your funnel, or rather, into your process, however you want to refer to it as, make sure that you understand that you have to kind of warm people up. You can't just jump down their throats. You can't just automatically ask them for the sale. You have to introduce yourself. You have to get people to like you. You have to get people to respect you and, to trust you. That's a really big thing, because think about yourself as far as giving your money to a stranger, right? Who does this? I don't really know too many people, myself included. I'm not somebody that's just going to give you my money. So make sure that you are following these steps and techniques that I'm showing you, because again, I've been in this industry almost 20 years, whether it's selling, marketing, or advertising, and I've learned that, it's a relationship building industry. It's not necessarily about, tricking people. Sales isn't about tricking people. Sales is about solving people's problems. So if you can solve people's problems, this is what's really going to get your sales to climb, and you're going to see your numbers just go through the roof. And that's kind of, again, whether you're offering entertainment, whether you're providing a service, all that's important. Just because, it seems like it only benefits me if I sell them something, it doesn't. Everybody needs entertainment. Everybody needs, the world that we're in, and the industry that, that offers what we offer. And so, make sure that you also understand that, you yourself have to kind of follow a lot of these things, to be able to really kind of to walk your customer almost along with you through this process, kind of holding their hand and showing them, here's what I want you to do. Here's the next step. Here's the step after that. So you need to really understand this really well. So again, let's get into further in the course. I just wanted to kind of go over the basics with you guys, and help you understand, um, help you understand what the kind of like the big picture of the marketing and advertising is, that it's not some, fad. It's not some trick. It's not going to be anything that you're going to basically, see as a shiny object. This is the core truth, from what I've seen, and for anybody that listens to me and follows me, the things that I've learned, I want to give you guys and kind of pass them down. So let's get into our next section, which is why digital ads.